Hello, this is Dr. Kira Midier calling and talking to you from LinkedIn. And this is my first LinkedIn Live, and we are experimenting here. So please forgive me if I don't get some of the things correct, but I'm excited to be here and to begin to tell you about the journey that I've taken to work with aging and older adults throughout my time. Uh, so, to give you a little bit of background, I am a clinical psychologist. I've been practicing for over 45 years, which even scares me when I think about it. But I have been mostly working with seniors the last 12. And that journey started when I actually closed my practice for a couple of years when I was in my 50s. I retired. I took 3 years to learn something totally new, and then decided that I missed the mental health part of my practice. So I ended up going back and getting a job. And my job, because I had closed the practice, was working in a nursing home. And it was through those couple of years that I worked there that I realized that I had found my life passion in working with older adults, aging, and health. So at this point, I am wanting to share some of the information that I've learned and the research that I've done over the years so that we can talk about the importance of connection in people's lives. And the other part of that is social isolation and loneliness when people don't make connection. And so that is the topic that we're going to discuss today. So, why is this so important? I mean, other than it's nice to have friends, but there are more important reasons than just that. The research backs it up. And as I was doing the research for the talk today, it was amazing to me how much information is out there, even coming out just even the last few weeks, on why social connection is so critical. It actually decreases the opportunity for you to get dementia by almost 30%. Now, that is incredibly significant. So if I know a lot of people as they get older, they start, forgetting things and things start changing in their life. And so the concern about dementia is on people's minds. So if you know that one of the things you can do to help you decrease dementia is to actually work on connecting with others, that certainly is something that you can do in addition to obviously other things like, good nutrition, eating habits, as well as exercise. So that's one reason. The other is it decreases the mental health problems that people have. I mean, since we've had the pandemic, it's been very clear that the use of mental health services for depression has and anxiety has gone through the roof. You might have heard that many of your friends and family have tried to get into see a therapist or a counselor or even a coach. And it is not easy to find somebody to do that because we are all just booked. I oftentimes have to turn away many people because I cannot have room in my practice to be able to see them because I can only do so much in my week. So that is another reason that it is important, and health. So the research supports the fact that your health is influenced by social connections with others. So finding ways to connect with others has many reasons that beyond just having fun. And when you think about it, it's probably for some people, some of the easiest ways to do something good for ourselves as well as self-care. We'll look a little bit at what kind of connection opportunities you might have. The other thing we want to look at is relationships, what kind of relationships we can even develop to to be able to make connection. And when I was thinking about all the different ways that people connect, one of the ways is with family. I mean, that's the most easy and most natural one to do when it works. And so, connection with your kids or with your grandparents are are easy ways to begin to make connections. Not that isn't always wonderful, because we know that the other reason that people come to see me is because of stress in family connections. But when it works well, families can be incredible places of support, fun, ritual, and places to go for the holidays and things like that. Another way is just to develop, some acquaintances through activities. And there are many people that that you may know or run into in your life that you can work on deepening a connection with. But right now, maybe they're just acquaintances. They're not necessarily really friends. If you have a life partner, you might be married, or maybe you're dating someone special. That's another type of relationship that you can continue to try to work on. Dating is one of the things that people consult with me all the time on. I do a lot of relationship counseling and dating counseling, coaching for with people to be able to help them find new people in their life when perhaps they have lost somebody through either divorce or sometimes through uh, death. So, or maybe they just never got married before and they have a new partner that they're wanting to bring into their lives. The other thing that I say to people is have friendships of all ages. As people continue to mature and get older, they lose a lot of people in their life. Sometimes they lose people because um, they've actually died, so that does happen. But a lot of times they lose people because either they move away or other people, friends, move away from them because they've decided they want to be in a different part of the country or they want to be closer to their kids. So, uh, so loss is one of the reasons that you have to continue to make relationships and new ones all the time, because you never know who's going to be there and then who won't. And if you have people of all ages, then it's good to have somebody who is younger than you who might be a friend, as well as helping people who are older than you. I can say that clients tell me stories of befriending a neighbor, or um, sometimes an older neighbor who might be in their 90s, and they become friends, and they may be the younger one befriending the older, 90-year-old who tells them all their stories. And it is something that, makes people's hearts sing. It helps them feel like they're doing something for somebody else. And it's a wonderful way to be able to work on helping people with community who are more isolated and maybe can't get out. But the other part is finding ways to connect in your community. And it could be through a chamber of commerce, I mean, for people who are still working. And it could be through a community center. Or I recently just joined I just moved and I moved to Fort Collins, Colorado, and I don't know anyone here. And so I joined a newcomers club, and I cannot believe the amount of activities that's in this club. I mean, obviously it's all ages. This is not just senior focused, but there's nothing wrong with that. You can certainly find people of your age if that's something you're wanting to do. I'm looking to join pickleball, which is going to be in the spring, so I'm on the list for that. And I have no idea. I've never done it. Well, I've done it one time before with my kids. I know enough that I can hit the ball. So I guess that's the only requirement, and you can move. So those are the kinds of things that you can do when you are joining a newcomers club if you're new to an area. And in this particular club, I think you can be a newcomer for 4 years and then you become an alumni. So being an alumni must mean something. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but I will find out when I go to my meeting that gives me all the rules and everything that is all involved in that. So those are some of the things that you can do in on a community level. And I have people that say to me that they joined some senior centers. Sometimes they don't see themselves as a senior, so they don't want to necessarily go to a senior center. But I will tell you that in the early part of my career, when I first started as a psychologist, I wasn't even a psychologist. Yes, I was in training. I did a lot of workshops in senior centers when I went to school at the University of Denver getting my doctorate. And some of the most active and young seniors were a part of those senior centers. So don't have this ageist attitude that only really the old go to senior centers. There are people of all ages and mindsets that are there that you can connect with. So those are some of the things that you can think about. And and so the other ways to begin to make, connections, the one that you can ways to find out about connections or sometimes through social media. I mean, social media has its plus and minuses, but if you are wanting to find out what's going on in your community, you might put a post that says, I'm looking for older adults who are interested in meeting new people and maybe going to movies or whatever it is. And I am always amazed at the amount of responses that people get when people will bring something like that up. And I've seen many groups that have started on social media helping people make connections with people they never knew about before. So those are some of the pluses. I know there are some negatives too on social media. I don't spend a whole lot of time on it myself, but when I have a purpose, I do, and I go in there for some very specific reasons, and if there's all this negativity that's going on, I just go right by it because that's not something I wanna bring into my life. So 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 Facebook can help, but also Nextdoor, which is more your local community. I mean, in Fort Collins, there's a kind of a neighbors helping neighbors one, and so I'm sure those are in most communities as well. So those are some places. Also meetup groups. So meetup groups, either some that are existing are ones that you can kind of check in your community. Most of them at this point have some online access, but some of them are in person, much more in person these days than were before. So that's an opportunity. And if there isn't a meetup group in an area in something you're interested in, you can start one. So that is another thing that you can do if you're trying to meet like-minded people. Um, there are other things like doing volunteer work. It's not always easy to find good volunteer work, but I know people who volunteer sometimes in art museums. They've been nurses, they've worked in hospitals, they've worked in uh, uh, community areas where they food banks, many different places where you can meet people. Sometimes there are people that are the same people all the time that gives you more opportunity for connection, and sometimes they're just a one-off opportunity. Working on political campaigns. I mean, it's something that people do if you're politically inclined and that's a passion of yours. Doing something in the political world, volunteering there might be another way where you meet like-minded people. You can join an exercise class or a league. People, like I was going to do the pickleball, but other people do it with tennis and golf and other physical activities. Walking groups are great. So finding something where they list the quality of the hikes and if they're difficult or if they're easy, those are ways to find other people and do some things together, and they may be a way for you to make some new friendships too. Um, Inviting somebody to coffee, in any of these groups that you go to is a way to take things one step further to get to know someone and decide whether or not they might be a good friend. Having somebody over for dinner, or let's say you're having a Thanksgiving or a Christmas meal, and you know that their family is far away and they're going to be alone for the holidays. In extending an invitation to somebody like that is a wonderful way to continue to build a relationship and friendship. So those are some areas that you can work on. Um, and don't dismiss the power of using your synagogue or church because religious organizations have community built in, and a lot of times they have their own activities. And I know for my own self, I have connected with the synagogue in Fort Collins. I also have in Evergreen, Colorado, and I've made dear, dear friends over the years who continue to be a part of my life sometimes over the last 35 years since I've moved to Colorado. So those are important places. Even though they might have started a long time ago, there's no reason why you can't continue to use those places as ways to find a community of like-minded people, or at least people that can even introduce you to people if you haven't started doing that yet. Um, the other place that a lot of my clients love are book clubs, and they can find them sometimes in a meetup group. There are even writing groups and meetup groups, but book clubs are all over, and you might go to the local library and ask the librarians if they know of any of the actual in-person book club groups in your community, so that you can find one that might be a good fit for you. So the Newcomers group and had a book club group, so did the Temple. So, those are ways that you can look in your community to try to find things that might be of interest to you. And I'm excited. And there are online book clubs too, if you don't want to meet in person. Um, so hobbies is another area. So, maybe you like doing art. Maybe you have a talent for art, or maybe you just want to be able to figure out, how to draw a tree or whatever. There are classes that you can take, and you can go to an art museum, and certainly there are ways to be able to meet people who are interested in art and museums. That would be another area as well. Um, so all of those groups are places that you can begin to reach out and expand the people that you connect with. I mean, how many friends do you need in life? You really need just a couple of close friends that you can count on, especially during times when you need support. One of the biggest challenges for people is that sometimes somebody in your either your family or maybe somebody has taken on the role of being a caregiver. It's something that people be. It's not a job that people sign up for. It's a job that often happens to people in their lives. It could be a partner, it could be a child who is an adult child or a younger child who ends up, needing extra help or being sick. Or it could be a parent. I've talked with groups with men in their 70s who are still taking care of their parents, and so they are becoming caregivers for people that are older than them, and those people need an awful lot of support. So finding support groups are important, but also offering support as to people with friendships is a way to make sure that people are doing something to support people who are doing oftentimes a thankless job of, or maybe it's a thankful job because it brings people a lot of joy, but it is very stressful being a caregiver for someone else, especially over the long term. It could be a health issue, it could be dementia. It doesn't matter. I've had clients who have been caregivers for their adult children who have MS and other kinds of problems. And it's not going to be something that goes away. It's something that you have a lifetime commitment to. So, providing support for people like that, that's where friendships, it almost inoculate, it's like an inoculation. It gives people a, um, the kind of energy that they get to take in versus always giving. And it's important to have a balance of both because if you don't, you just, as a caregiver, you just get depleted and then you are subject to getting sick yourself. And you don't want that to happen. So, all of those things are incredibly important. Um, so, so, what are the challenges in friendships? Sometimes there's conflict. I mean, conflict doesn't just go away just because you're having a relationship with people that you love, whether or not it's a partner or a friend. And working through those challenges is important. Putting time and energy into relationships are important. And the other part is learning when a relationship is not healthy and you may need to let it go. Part of one of the things I do with people sometimes when they're in unhealthy relationships where people are not necessarily bringing anything positive into their life and bringing a lot of negativity is looking at, how do you detach from people who perhaps are not healthy for you to have in your life? Or maybe just limit how much time you spend with them. um, you have to decide. There isn't any one right way around that, and it is the difficult one to do. Um, I would say that relationship and family problems are one of the things that have people come into my therapy part of my practice. But the coaching part of my practice, it really is involved with helping people plan for the financial, not the financial, but the non-financial part of retirement. And those are really looking at all these different things, and developing connections is a piece of the plan for the future. How do you maintain relationships, especially when you're thinking about leaving the work environment? Because at that point, you don't have your instant friendships. You have to really learn how to develop new ones. And sometimes you just get out of practice in doing that. And when your friends are still working and you may be retired, you may realize there's an emptiness or a hole in your life, and you need to find some ways of filling it. And that's what we talked about earlier today. So, hopefully, this is helpful to you. If you want to find out more about me, you obviously were on LinkedIn today. You can check my LinkedIn profile and you can contact me through there, or you can always go to my website, www.coachingagingadults.com. I would love for you to reach out to me and let me know if this has been helpful to you, and if there's any other topics you'd like me to talk about, I'd be more than happy to do this. I plan on doing it at least on a monthly basis and maybe even more going forward. So hopefully I've been helpful to you as you look at planning for your own retirement, looking at maybe making connections in life, even if you're not even thinking about retiring, but just want to improve your life in some other way and know that this is important for you, for your health, for your mental health, and to make sure that you continue to get your brain going to keep yourself um, both emotionally safe, physically safe, and healthy. Have a good day. Bye.